Okay, so let's talk about something that might sound a little backwards. We're going to explore this idea, this journey, really, from feeling like you're constantly reacting to everything to finally totally regaining control. And it all starts with one simple, pretty radical choice.
I want you to just think for a second. Picture all those times you felt yourself losing ground, in a conversation, a tense negotiation, or even a relationship. Your first instinct is to talk your way out of it, right? To explain more, to push your point harder. But what if the answer wasn't about adding more words?
That's it. What if the answer is just silence? To not react, to not explain, to not chase. Now, I know what you're thinking. That sounds kind of passive, maybe even weak. But you got to stick with me here because we're about to see how that's one of the most active and most powerful strategies you can possibly learn. Let's get into it.
So our journey starts by spotting a trap, one that pretty much all of us fall into. We'll call it the predictability trap. And this is the place where power isn't really taken from us. It's where we unknowingly just hand it over every single day. See, power isn't lost in big, dramatic moments. It leaks out in these tiny little things. That instant text back, the super long email where you explain every single thought you've ever had, that immediate gut punch emotional reaction. We tell ourselves, hey, I'm just being authentic, I'm being open. But what we're really being is predictable.
And here's the cold, hard truth about that. When someone knows exactly how you're going to react, they stop thinking about you. Seriously. Your response is already calculated. You just become background noise. Why? Because you've lost all your mystery.
And that right there brings us to the turning point. If being predictable makes you invisible, then being unpredictable makes you fascinating. This is where we learn how to actually use the psychological power of silence.
Here's the key idea you've got to get. People don't chase other people. They chase emotions. And one of the most potent, most compelling emotions of all is uncertainty. That feeling of just not quite knowing what's going to happen next. This taps right into our basic wiring. Our brains are basically pattern-matching machines. They're built to solve puzzles. It's a survival instinct. So when a pattern is broken or a story is left unfinished, our minds just latch on. They can't let it go. We become obsessed with the unknown. So this is how you put that principle to work. When you choose not to reply right away, when you intentionally break that predictable pattern, you're not being rude. You are literally becoming the puzzle. You become the source of that totally captivating uncertainty. Now, I have to be really clear about this. A lot of people think ignoring someone is a sign of weakness or that you're just afraid. That is not what we're talking about here. This is about taking a gut impulse and transforming it into a conscious, deliberate choice.
Let's draw a really sharp line here. Ignoring someone out of fear, that's just an escape. You're running from conflict. But ignoring someone as a choice, that's an act of power. You're not running. You're demonstrating that you control the entire situation because you control your own reaction. One is escape, the other is domination.
I mean, just think about it. Any animal can react. That's just pure instinct. But to feel that powerful urge, that spike of emotion, and then to choose to be still and silent, well, that takes discipline. That is real power. So how do you actually use this stuff? Look, this isn't about becoming a ghost or disappearing completely. It's more like learning a rhythm, like a dance, between being fully present and then making yourself scarce. It boils down to a pretty simple but incredibly effective formula. You appear and then you disappear. You engage fully and then you withdraw completely. And listen, this isn't about playing games. It's about understanding and managing your own value.
It's a basic principle from everywhere. Economics, psychology, you name it. Scarcity increases value. If you're always available, always talking, your presence just becomes common. It's expected. And because it's expected, it gets devalued.
But on the flip side, when you speak less, your words hit with so much more impact. Your absence creates a kind of vacuum, and when you finally re-engage, what you have to say suddenly matters more. Your silence gives your words incredible weight. So all this brings us to the final choice. Because, it's one thing to understand an idea, it's a whole other thing to actually apply it. This all comes down to reclaiming the power that you might not have even known you were giving away. Just think back for a minute. That argument where you just had to get the last word in, that negotiation where you talked too much and showed your hand too early. How much power just vanished into thin air simply because you couldn't stay silent? And what about that text you sent when you were angry, or that long defensive explanation that only dug you into a deeper hole?
We've all been there. And that awful feeling of regret you get later, that's the feeling of knowing you surrendered your control to a cheap impulse.
And this, right here, is the ultimate takeaway. Real control isn't won or lost in some huge dramatic battle. It leaks away in all the small daily reactions. That's where the war for self-mastery is actually fought.
The second you create even a little bit of space between what happens and how you respond, everything changes. You go from being a puppet of your own emotions to being the master of your actions. You stop just reacting and you start choosing. And that choice is power.
So I'll leave you with a final question. And just remember, this was never about manipulating other people. It's about mastering yourself. Are you ready to stop being predictable? Are you ready to control the game by finally choosing what to